Located in Hepingxiang, Taichung County, Baishanshan National Forest Recreation Area has a lively ecosystem. It is famous for its varieties of birds. There are gray-cheeked fulvetas, white-throated flycatcher warblers, greenback tits, black bulbuls, and yellow-throated minivets. There are also collared finchbills and Muller's barbets inhabiting this forest. Every year between April and July, the secondary hole-nesting birds lay eggs in this forest. They nest and raise their nestlings in tree holes. Their bashful personality makes them difficult to approach, let alone study their complete life cycles. In order to study these secondary hole-nesting birds, Dongshi Forest District Office of the Taiwan Forestry Bureau has cooperated with the Endemic Species Research Institute to undertake further investigations. At present, they have set up 35 nesting boxes in Baishanshan National Forest Recreation Area in order to attract those birds that are in the habit of nesting in tree holes. In early April, a pair of varied tits nested in box A21. This news has thrilled the staffs in Dongshi Forest District Office. There has been no complete life history record of this endemic subspecies in Taiwan. Research staff grabbed this excellent opportunity and planned for intensive observation. The first step was to set up a camera to record the entire life cycle of the varied tits. All the preparations were complete. The Truman Show of the varied tits officially started. When the mother varied tit came back, she was soon aware of the light coming through the nest as well as the camera. At first, she was not used to it and kept on looking up at the camera. The worm in her beak seemed to be still alive and moving. She appeared completely caught up by the camera. After feeding, the mother varied tit kept on examining the area around the nest. When she finally decided the camera was harmless, she seemed to relax and then left. However, the father varied tit seemed to totally ignore the existence of the camera and fed the baby birds as usual. Like most of the birds, they take away any waste produced by their young before leaving the nest. Sometimes they just eat it. Varied tits have a wide range of food choices. The most common food for their young is caterpillars. Caterpillars account for 80% of their diet. After caterpillars, their diet consists of 9% spiders, 4% fruit, and 4% grasshoppers and crickets. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly what the babies are eating because the parents are very careful and peck the food into small pieces before feeding them. In spite of the fact that the main source of food is the larvae of moths and butterflies, The Arachneidae larvae seem to stop the mother varied tit from approaching. As it is difficult to distinguish between the male and female varied tits, the researchers have put bands on their feet to identify them from each other. Whereas both parents share the duty of finding food and feeding the nestlings, the male and female varied tits have some distinct differences in behavior. After feeding the babies, the female usually cleans the nest and checks if there are parasites or waste left there. The female also broods on her babies to keep them warm before their feathers are fully grown. Throughout the period of growing to maturity, the babies have an extraordinary appetite. During the 104 hours under observation, the parents flew in and out of the nest to feed the babies 1,080 times. They fed the babies on average every 6 minutes. Throughout this, the male fed the babies 604 times, and the female fed them 476 times. We estimate that the parents would have to fly in and out over 2,000 times before the baby birds have grown to fledge. When it rains, it makes it harder for the parents to seek food. However, they will not stop feeding their babies. Spring and summer are the breeding seasons for these birds. Many other birds are just as busy as varied tits, like this pair of nuthatches who are falling in love and performing the distinctive courtship dance. During the growing period, both male and female share the feeding responsibility. These 5 baby birds will grow at a rapid pace. Therefore, a huge amount of food is needed. This job could not be accomplished by one parent alone. Spring is a rainy season. All creatures grow during this season. The varied tits are no exception. After 20 days, 3 of the baby birds in box A21 were fully grown and successfully flew away from the nest. The other 2 were weaker, so they stayed in the nest. The parents kept coming back to them, feeding them, and trying to coax them to fly, but they didn't make it. Sadly, their deaths were captured by our camera. "20 days later, the varied tit couples lay another clutch of 5 eggs again. They chose box A17 for their second brood. Now the babies are 3 days old. Again, the parents devote all their attention to taking care of the babies. At this moment, one of the 5 baby birds had stopped moving. It was under its siblings. The researchers feared that this might mean death to the nest. The mother bird returned. After feeding the babies, she ate their waste and started to clean the nest. While cleaning the nest, the mother bird found the dead body. She sadly removed the tiny corpse. Perhaps due to the bad weather, the babies didn't seem to have much appetite. They didn't eat anything. Although they were opening their beaks and making the noises of begging for food, the noises were very weak. The parents never stopped caring for the babies. However, none of them survived. Small birds like varied tits, Taiwan tits, and nuthatches like to inhabit and nest in tree holes. This type of bird uses naturally formed holes in trees or seams in rocks as nesting spots. Due to the changes of the natural environment in the forests, these perfect nesting spots are decreasing in number. Consequently, the populations of these birds are also declining. We look forward to properly setting up artificial nesting boxes for management and research purposes. We believe that this will definitely help increase the number of varied tits. This will also give us the opportunity of observing them in their natural ecosystem and help people understand more about how they raise their young.